This is a hairline, you see, this is microcebrus. So you see this part of the hairline is single hairs, so that you get a more natural look, you see. My name is Paul Huntley, and I'm a theatrical wig maker. On most productions, performers wear a wig because it's easier, it stays the same, and you have your mic pack in your head. So you can't wear a mic pack in your own natural hair, you see. So that is why wigs are used all the time. And also with a production, once you establish a look of the whole concept of the production, costume, you know, lighting, everything, then that has to be repeated 8 times a week. And it's much easier to do it with a wig because, let's face it, people get caught in the rain or they've had a shower and they've got to blow dry their hair, and then it just doesn't work. And it's not the same because hair, you know, natural hair is not the same every day. My mother really got me interested in it because I was fascinated watching her makeup and the way she curled and dressed her hair. That is basically how I started my interest as a small child, and I was all of 5 or 6. And I went to drama school after I came out of the army. And I went into repertory, you know, as an actor. But of course, the wig part of it was what fascinated me. So I apprenticed myself to a theatrical wig maker, one of the very finest. His name was Stanley Hall, and the company was Wig Creations. And they did all the most incredible movies and theatre at that time. And so I worked on many of the great, wonderful films and met a lot of very well-known performers at that time, you know, Marlene Dietrich. And I thought, I need to start my own business. And so I worked very closely with a film director called Mike Nichols, who said, well, I'm doing a production in New York called Uncle Vanya, and I'd very, very much like you to do the wigs. And that was the very first production that I did, Uncle Vanya, with Julie Christie and Elizabeth Wilson and Barnett Hughes and Lillian Gish. And that's how I started my company here in New York. From then on, I did some of the most wonderful productions on Broadway, which leads us up to almost the present time, you know. The kind of work I like to do and prefer to do is natural. I don't like people to know they're wearing wigs, and I don't like them to be alluded to wigs in a way, you know. I just like it to be the character and no one questions that they've got a wig on. But with cats, of course, you couldn't really do that. And for me, who was such a purist about doing natural, it was something very exciting in a way because those extraordinary colors, and it wasn't made with human hair, it was made with yak, because it's very coarse. And so that's what we did with cats. Now this is a piece that's going to be for Elaine Stritch for Little Night Music, and so I am shaping this by doing these little darts. This is a hook. So you hook. That's how you tie hair in. Yes. So what you do is you just turn it like this. And then what happens is you tie it. And that's one little hair in the mesh. At the present time, I'm setting wigs for Ellen Burstyn as a younger person in the store and then as a much older lady. And then I set it, and then it's put into the oven to bake. It seals the set. It's like going under a hairdryer. Some directors don't have a real concept, you know, and they're the first to admit it. Some costume designers don't care much about designing the hair. Others, of course, do. So they like me to interpret that. And you have to also work with the sound people too, because they want to know exactly where you're going to put a curl if their mic is going to be hidden and they're not going to get their sound, you see. This is the wig department of Lend Me a Tenor. This is Eddie, who is my right hand, who actually maintains and looks after the wigs every performance, and this is where the magic begins. To achieve this, you have to set it, you know, every performance, and especially today, for instance, which is a very humid day. You know, it's human hair, and it behaves like human hair. This lovely actress is Jan Maxwell, who's one of the stars of the production, Lend Me a Tenor. First of all, when they're sitting in front of their mirror in the dressing room, they only really see themselves from sort of halfway, and it's the face, isn't it? And if they have their makeup and their hair in the character they feel totally secure in, then they just go out and do it. And that is a kind of therapy, I think, for them. It totally changes what they are when they arrive in the theatre. They find that, you know, a catharsis in a way, you know, that they feel totally secure when they go out there. And you have to make them feel that, you know. This year I've done, I should think at least 20 shows. But driving my creativity, I think I'm just disciplined myself to do that. And I never think of doing anything else. I mean, this is who I am, actually, I suppose. I mean, this was meant to be, obviously, for me.